Today's video is sponsored by Ugreen and their new Nexode 300W GAN charger. To really understand Razer's newest mouse release, you have to apply some perspective. If you look at it purely from an enthusiast standpoint, it's not great. But if you look at it from an everyday consumer standpoint, then it's still pretty confusing, honestly. Traditionally, Razer releases a pro version of a new mouse or shape. It comes with a breathtaking price tag, everybody freaks out, and then over time, we may see some more affordable variants of that shape come to market. This is the Viper V3 Hyperspeed. It's a weird one because it changes the shape of the Viper V2 Pro in a few key ways, but it's still a symmetrical mouse. It uses the same Focus Pro 30K sensor, it's got 4K wireless dongle support, and it comes in at a very shocking price point of only $69.99. Nice. That's a full $80 less than the current price on the Viper V2 Pro. Not only that, but you can get a bundle of this mouse and the 4K wireless dongle for $84.99, which reduces the cost of that 4K wireless by 50%. That makes this mouse almost suspiciously accessible from a price standpoint. So what's the catch? Well, there's a couple, which may or may not bother you at all, but let's talk about this new shape first. Compared to the V2 Pro, it's a little over a millimeter taller, and the hump has been shifted more towards the rear. It's nearly exactly the same length. It's a little more narrow at the pinch. Overall, the sidewalls are flatter. They don't move in and down as much, and it doesn't flare out as much at the rear of the mouse. We've got a DPI button back on top of the mouse, and the triggers have been totally redesigned. We now have ledges on either side of the frame, similar to the Superlight, to avoid finger pinch. The comfort grooves in the front are deeper. The front trigger edges don't have as much of a pronounced curvature from middle to out. Side play on M1 and M2 are perfectly acceptable on my copy. Under these triggers is catch number one. We don't have the Gen 3 optical switches like we've seen on their top line stuff. These are the Gen 2 mechanical switches. These are the same that you would see in the Orochi V2 or the lower tier version of the Basilisk. There's very little pre-travel here and a mid amount of post-travel that I don't feel in game at all. Their Gen 3 opticals have a really obvious sound and feel. It's lower pitched, it's sometimes crunchy. These are more high pitched, they feel really crispy. I've always liked these. This is a familiar sensor and familiar wireless tech, and despite these being mechanical switches, I didn't see anything in the end-to-end latency measurements that's even worth talking about. They feel plenty fast in-game too. Performance-wise, I don't think you're operating at a disadvantage using these over the opticals. We'll talk about the side buttons in just a sec, but first, introducing the first 300-watt 5-port GAN charger from Ugreen. With a dedicated 140-watt output port and a total of up to 300 watts total output power, the Nexode 300W is designed to be the only device you need to charge multiple devices. With 4 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A, it's capable of charging and powering multiple laptops simultaneously and completely eliminates the need for individual chargers for each device. This is amazing for those of us with 3 separate chargers for their iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch stacks. Thanks to the PD 3.1 charging protocol, you'll get high-speed charging support for a variety of different devices. It's capable of charging a MacBook Pro 16-inch from 0 to 56% in just 30 minutes. It supports all of these fast charging protocols for wide compatibility for your smartphones, tablets, and your laptops, and it's got intelligent distribution of output current so you can charge super fast without worrying about hurting your battery. The Nexode 300W also has a built-in thermal guard system that monitors temperature changes in real time and takes over 6,000 readings every minute. This makes sure all of your connected devices are protected from overheating, overcharge, and excessive current. The space gray matte paint looks clean, aesthetic, and it comes with a 6.6-foot power cord that makes it convenient to place anywhere you need it. Click the link in the description to check out the Nexode 300W from Ugreen. So the side buttons have been completely reworked here. They're larger, they stick out from the body more, and they're gapped in between. These feel really good. They're light, there's no mush. I find them a lot more comfortable in game due to the gap. I can trigger that rear button a lot easier without needing to move my thumb at all. The scroll wheel looks mostly the same, but the encoder feels a lot smoother. I don't get some of the weird shell resonance that I've had on my V2 Pros. There's no RGB anywhere, and the coating is evidently the same coating from the black version of the latest Death Adder. This is my first experience with this coating, and it's not my favorite. It's really smooth, it looks dirty, really fast. It just doesn't feel as premium as some stuff we've seen from them in the past. In hand, it kind of feels like a cheap knockoff version of a Razer mouse. It performs all right in game, but with the weight of this mouse, I really wish they'd included some grips. On the underside, we've got larger glides front and back. They feel smoother to me than the V2, but my copy's got a lot of miles on it. We also see the sensor has been moved forward considerably. The idea here is that for claw and fingertip players, it's going to provide more accuracy as it gets you closer to the natural ergonomics of like holding a pen or a pencil. I did find that to be true in game, but even with my larger than average hand size, I would not say this is an easy mouse to fingertip. The V2 Pro is much easier. Size-wise, it's kind of like a midpoint between the Viper V2 Pro and the Dave. You'll also see the battery door under there, which is catch number 2. There's no charging port on the front of this mouse and no cable included because this is only battery powered. The only included accessory is a single AA battery which fits lengthwise into the shell, and there's dongle storage in there too. So this is of course going to affect the battery life. This mouse is rated at 280 hours at 1K or 75 hours at 4K, which is crazy, but it's also obviously going to affect the weight. The included Energizer Max Alkaline AA weighs like 23 grams, so the total weight there is going to be like 82, 83 grams. If you go for a lithium AA that weighs more around like 16 grams, that's going to give you a total package weight of 74 grams and you'll get longer battery life. And I'm not advising this, but you can go with a lithium AAA at 8 grams and a piece of aluminum foil or a sleeve adapter, and you can get it to a total weight of 66 grams. That'll be at or slightly below the included AA in terms of battery life. This also holds up if you're somebody that slams their mouse around a lot when you play. So weight, I think, is going to be the biggest thing with this mouse. We're not really at a point anymore where you can call 83 or even 74 grams lightweight. 66, 67, you can get away with saying that. That's about a gram heavier than my usual main, the MZ1 Wireless. It's quite a bit heavier than a Final Mouse Last Legend at 50 grams for the medium, and noticeably heavier than the Pulsar X2H size 2 that I've been running a lot lately. Said the easiest way, if you're a fan of super light or hyper light mice, you got other places to look than this mouse. And this isn't a really popular public opinion, but if weight's not really that big of a deal to you, this is fine. I mean, the latest G502 variant still weighs in at 105 grams, and I know guys that are nasty on that mouse. They did make an effort to centralize the weight in the middle of the mouse, so despite it being heavier, it feels really balanced if you're the type to pick up your mouse a lot. And some people will like having a replaceable battery in there because it removes the threat of battery degradation from long-term ownership. Sadly, I do think the weight will be enough of a turnoff to stop a good amount of people from checking this out, which kind of dulls the excitement around the new shape and the new sensor placement. But I do have to applaud Razer dropping a very capable wireless mouse at a sub $70 price point. It's just a confusing release because I thought we were headed to where Razer was either going to give us lightweight, stripped down pro performance models or feature packed, RGB laden, heavy consumer models, and this doesn't feel like it caters to either group. I know that it's intended purely for gaming as we don't see a Bluetooth mode here like we saw on the Orochi V2. I just sincerely hope we're not seeing Razer heading in a direction where they're no longer listening to the enthusiast community. I think that's how it felt with that Cobra release, and it feels kind of similar here too. They don't really talk to us about future releases, so there may very well be a pro version of this mouse on the way, which I'd be interested in checking out, but I wouldn't really be too keen on paying $80 more just for lighter weight and optical switches. There may even be a mini version of this shape in the pipeline, and maybe that's why we didn't get a proper Razer Viper Mini release. It'll be really interesting to see where they go with this. If you got some value out of today's video, please drop me a like or consider subscribing to the channel, or maybe check out some of the new merch if you haven't already. Shout out again to Ugreen for sponsoring. That's it for today, and I will catch you all in the next one. Stay up.